First, most importantly, is the discovery and strategy before writing the script. Then once we get some proper takes, I'll upload the audio files into Pro Tools. Okay, they're in. Now we have to clean them up, remove the dead space, and enhance this audio. I used that Waves NS1 noise suppressor here and a simple de-esser to remove any sharp S sounds that hurt your ears. Throw in some Abbey Road Plates reverb to make it sound all cool and stuff, and then do a bit of EQing to take out any other unnecessary frequencies that shouldn't be there. Then we'll move on to sound design to get that cinematic feel. My go-to for samples is Arcade by Output, 100%. I'm not endorsed by these guys, but if you're a content creator, producer, or musician, I highly recommend this plugin. It's like only $10 a month, totally high quality stuff, and affordable, because we artists be broke sometimes. Anyways, for this one I use the Warp library and a couple of other ones that I forget off the top of my head. Once I find the sound, I print the audio so I can adjust the automation to fit the ideas that come to me on the fly. I find the keywords that jump out within the story Mike is trying to tell about their record, then, boom, you got some cool cinematic audio. Now we move on to mixing. They use this track that fit the story best for this narration. Now we don't want this to dominate the voiceover, so I added a simple EQ to scoop the frequencies. I used automation to create this swoop for the build-up, as you can see here. It's more linear, actually. Anyway, so this allows the voiceover and all those cinematic sounds to dominate. Then I move on to the mastering, which is in a different session I don't show here, unfortunately. I do a little research on various sites to find the type of environment I'm looking for, and this awesome photo is from Elijah O'Donnell. Shout out to Elijah. Now we gotta get this lantern out so the album can show there. Using Photoshop tools to remove it, then duplicate the images with some content or scaling to fill out the 1920 by 1080 space for the video. This isn't a perfect edit, but it suits the job. Now I had this idea about creepy vines filling the background with some stop motion action, but needed the right look. Found this pic from Scott Webb, shout out to Scott. First job is to mask out this pesky wall to get my vines. It's a great photo, Scott, but gotta get rid of the wall. Once I mask out all the vines, I duplicate some sections, differentiate their complexity to how they would sit in the frame once they're all in. Then boom, you got some creepy wall vines in the background. Throw on some Gaussian blur to match the environment since the focal point is the album, not the wall. Duh. Now we move on to the 3D model of the album. First I gotta try to make it look uber real, so my first step is to find an excellent image of some plastic to cover the record. After all, they are usually shrink wrapped. So I found this cool image, duplicated its properties to generate a texture 3D bump map, normal map, and a couple of other files to throw into some of my 3D programs to wrap this sucker. Once I got into Adobe Dimension, it flopped. This program runs really slow on my computer, and the UV wrap just didn't turn out right. Some of the back of the album cover was peeking through the front of it, so that was no bueno. Even though Dimension didn't work, I was still able to import the OBJ file that I created into Blender. I then used the UV unwrap option to match my textures and images for this guy. Much better and faster to accomplish this goal as opposed to the imperfections I got in Dimension. It could have been user error, but I don't know. Anyway, now we gotta build our environment and scene. Put in a couple of planes for the floor and the wall to match the background I created, used a few area lights to match the environment, and went to town on animating the album cover. You'll see I dropped in the audio so I can match the movement to the narration. I used keyframes on the camera and the album to try to get this panning and coming at you effect. Some of the keyframes are set to constant value to try to get a little stop motion action too. I then did several previews to make sure I got it just right enough for what I was trying to accomplish. Then I had to render the animation. My computer couldn't handle the cycles render, so I had to send it to a render farm called CoreWeave to knock this out. Not too expensive, and it was a simple process to get that render. Now we gotta make these vines move, so we'll jump into After Effects. I separated them into 5 different vines. The idea is to do some stop motion action, so with some keyframes I'll move each vine to its respective region. I'll then keyframe each position on the timeline for the sequence, using each keyframe at a constant value. Then add a wiggle expression once it lands so it gets that Evil Dead creepy stop motion look. Pretty rad, yes. Now while coming up with this, I had to figure out how to fill a story with some B-roll and clips from the history of the band. So why not use an old TV? Mask out the TV from this image, drop it into After Effects, bevel and emboss the edges, use some curves to match the scene, then throw all this footage inside. Warp the edges of the footage to fit in the TV, add a little noise, then boom, there it is. Do some simple scaling to pan out, then the rest is editing the sequence. Throw in some typography to tell the story and add some cool transitions, blurs, glitches, etc. Then you got a trailer. You catch all that?